Let's take a look at this chart, which shows our current 10-year budget outlook. As you can see, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities project there will be 5 major contributors to the deficit in 2019. The one that's obviously least under our control is this, which is the economic downturn. That's the red. Then there are the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the green. That proportion is pretty substantial. But here's this little blue, kind of turquoise line. This little thing, that's the Recovery Act. This is legislation that is targeted over and over and over again for being such a huge contributor to our deficit. This sliver is what so many of my colleagues complain about, that one. Most of its contribution to the deficit is clustered right here in the first 2 years when the economy most needed a boost. But its longer-term budget deficits are tiny compared to its effectiveness in keeping us from falling into another Great Depression. And when compared to this yellowish-orange block, the block responsible for over $7 trillion in debt over this 10-year period. These are the Bush-era tax cuts, which were passed without being paid for. This block is the result of an experiment in economic theory. I think the record is clear that the experiment failed. But no matter what you think of the effect of that policy choice on our economy, you cannot deny the effect of that policy choice on our deficit, because here it is in yellowish orange. So when my colleagues come down here to rail against the Recovery Act, to blame the Recovery Act for increasing the deficit, well, I guess it can be technically accurate. A little bit of the blame, this much, maybe, I don't know, a centimeter. That goes to the Recovery Act, even though it very possibly kept us from slipping into a second Great Depression, in which case deficit's much larger. But I also want the American people to have a sense of how much of the blame should go to the Recovery Act and how much of it belongs elsewhere, and I think you see it.